Decline the call or to accept, dial 5 now. If you wish to block any future calls of the...
Hey, brother. Hey, David, man, I'm so sorry about that. We had a man who's already in prison, and the FBI entrapped his wife. She's completely innocent. She's like somebody's grandmother. She's been in prison for over a week already, and nobody's heard from her, and I promised to give him an update. But you were doing something incredibly important, and I would like for you to give it a second shot, and I should be okay this time.
You want me to start over?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I got the recorder going, and make sure you say the title, and we'll just put that out. And you know, make sure you invite people. Make sure you invite people to ask questions, and we'll try to make sure that they get to you. Okay.
Okay. We're discussing the thing called the Hinkson transformer. It's a regular transformer, but it's been built a specially different way. So we're going to go ahead and explain the concept real quick of a regular transformer. The way a regular transformer works is normally if you have a 220 transformer, the primary coil has two 110 wires, wires that go into the 110 outlet. If you plug that transformer into the primary, into the dryer outlet, it will blow the breaker, supposedly, or it will melt the coil. In other words, you'll have flame, fire, and sparks. Does that make sense, Rudy?
Yes.
Okay, now, but when you plug a transformer in, it is a direct short. The primary is directly shorted out, but it does not blow the breaker. It's kind of strange. What actually happens is the energy, it uses a massive amount of electric amps go around that coil, and it makes instantaneously, it makes a bunch of magnetism. That magnetism goes all the way around the circle of steel and back through this very same said coil that created it in the first place, and it puts the energy back in the coil. So what that means is, when you plug the primary in, as if it's directly shorted out, what happens is the transformer will sit there and buzz. It's called a 60-cycle hum. You hear a buzz. Now, that magnetism is free, and the meter is not using any energy because of a thing called an R1 lock. So you can leave the AC adapter plugged in. The transformer on the telephone pole out in front of your house is shorted out full time. The primary is shorted out full time, but it's really not using any amperage. But when you hook up your blow dryer and your heater, and that comes off the secondary, when it's used, it destroys the R1 lock. And when you destroy the R1 lock, then the primary uses the same amount of energy as the secondary. Okay? Is that making sense so far?
I'm trying my best to follow you, but I hear the words.
Okay. So what we figured out how to do is to basically take this free magnetism that's roaring around that circle of steel called a transformer, take that same energy and make electricity.
This call is from a federal prison.
Use that energy that's traveling around that circle of steel. That's where basically the magnetism is happening for free in the core. So normally if you use the secondary, that crashes the primary and you pay. But if we could use the secondary and not crash the primary, your meter wouldn't move and you would actually put energy back into the grid. Now, first off, every university in the world teaches there's no such thing and this can't work. But what we did was we found that if we added a couple extra coils and a bank of capacitors and a few other little odds and ends, we can basically keep the R1 lock going so that the magnetism is happening for free and the extra energy is now coming off of the secondary as free energy. Or, in this case, we amplify it to lower your power bill. So, if that makes any sense, that would be my explanation.
Yeah, I think what helped me a little bit as you were describing this, David, because is to see a picture of a transformer. And as you were talking about primary and secondary and the steel circle, I mean, you've got this core, right? And it's basically like I don't know, it's like a square with the middle cut out, you know, whatever that's called. And on the left side, you got the primary winding, what you refer to as the primary, which is nothing but a wire that just wraps around and round on the left side of the square. And on the right-hand side, you have the secondary winding. And what you're talking about is taking energy off the secondary winding without affecting anything on the left winding.
Primary.
Yeah. Now, explain to me this R1 lock again. When you said R1 lock, I'm really not tracking with you on that.
The R1 lock is a concept that says if you don't use the secondary, the magnetism that is being created, you actually use amperage to make the magnetism, but the magnetism goes all the way around in a full circle and goes back into the same coils. It puts the energy back into those coils.
Okay.
So therefore it sits there and it hums, but your meter's not charging you much of anything.
Okay.
So basically, you're getting the magnetism for free. Now, the secret is if we can pull the extra energy off of the secondary without crashing the R1 lock. That's the money shot.
Yeah, I got you.
Because now now you're taking the free magnetism and you're turning it into cash or amplified electricity.
Well, you know the statement you keep making about you get the magnetism for free. You don't get the magnetism unless you put amperage on the primary winding, right? I mean, you can't just get magnetism.
That's true.
Okay.
You have to plug. Right, you have to plug it in.
Okay.
But the point is, all transformers, unless you use the secondary, they don't really use any energy on the primary.
Oh, I see.
Now, there is an exception to that.
Okay.
It's called vampiring. All transformers use 0.25 watts of energy. It's wasted by the R1 lock. So if you have like a bank of VCRs and all these little things in your sound system there in your living room, every one of those little appliances that has a transformer in it is, if you leave them on, even if you're not using them, like the clock's lit up, they're all going to be using 0.25 watts.
Okay.
But that's not a lot of money. That's only a quarter of a watt. But again, when you have 20 or 30 items all plugged in, and they're plugged in 24 hours a day, it could add up to 10 or 15, maybe even $20 a month on your power bill. Is the vampire effect that we're describing. But overall, you know, canceling the vampire concept, when you don't use the secondary, the primary sits there, and it just creates the magnetism in the circle of steel. Now, that circle of steel in scientific language is called a toroid, and the circle of steel is called a toroidal core. So Nikola Tesla named the transformer a toroid before he named it the transformer. So
Gotcha.
It was actually called a toroidal.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
Well,
the question is can we use that free magnetism that is being created, that's making that full circle? Can we use it for something to help people lower their power bills and, or improve their standard of living? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Hey, can you call me back in? Can you call me back in 30 minutes, David?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
No
brother.
problem.